Hello Reds, welcome along to All for United.
Number one, what do we think of the fact that we have to sell in order to buy? Number two, who do you think we can sell and how much can we make? And number three, who can we get for that money and how does that compare to who you actually want to sign? James, you can go first.
I actually think it's a good thing that we've got to sell to buy, because it might force us to get rid of some of the sort of deadwood that's been cluttering up for a while. Do you know what I mean? I think if we can get rid of Andreas Pereira to start with, you could maybe get 10, 15 million for him if you were really good at bargaining. I think Jesse Lingard looks like he could be on his way out as well. After the season he's had, that could easily be 30 million odd. But there's obviously other players. Phil Jones, you wouldn't get a fee for. You'd have to pay other people to take him off your hands. But yeah, Dalot as well, get maybe 20 million for him. But yeah, I'm happy that it's going to force us to get rid of the players that just aren't Manchester United quality. Because I think if we didn't have to, we'd just keep hold of them because it's cheaper than replacing them with better players, isn't it? So, obviously it's a little bit annoying that we have, some of the richest owners in the world and we're still having to sell to buy, but it's not the end of the world. And then, like the players I mentioned, if we are getting rid of Martial as well, you can maybe make upwards of 80 million on player sales. Not all of that would go on new player signings, but there's talks of Camavinga coming in. I don't think he'd be as expensive as we might think. He's only got a year left on his deal, so that instantly lowers his price. And I think Ren missed out on Champions League as well, so that might lower his price even further. So yeah, he'd be a viable option. I still don't see him as the sort of answer to the holding midfielder role. I think he'd be like Pogba. He'd do a good job in that number 6, but you're sort of limiting how much of an impact he can have by playing in there. So it's weighing up those options. But say we're allowed to use 40, 50 million of that, I don't think there's many elite holding midfielders we couldn't afford, which is quite a nice thing to have.
No, I agree. I think it is a good thing that we will be forced to get to sort of cull our squad, and I think it's what the squad needs. Benny, what do you think? There's a few people in the comments sort of listing out who they'd sell. Who do you think we can possibly offload, and how much do you think we can get for them?
All depends, because I still think that with this pandemic still really rife across parts of the globe, I think you might not get as much money as you probably would had you done pre-pandemic for some of these players. Ugly Bear, Sell, Lingard, Fred, Dalot, Bay, to matter, but yeah, let's have a bit of a list there, lad. Lingard would be an interesting one. Because if we get like 25, 30 million for him, at the very, very least, man, that'd be a good bit of business. That'd free a bit of chunk of money up. Fred, they won't sell. He won't sell Fred. Dalot's going to be the interesting one, because I've seen a lot of people on social media today saying maybe perhaps deserves a bit of a chance. He's still young. He's still learning the game as well, or he's still relatively young, shall we say? Still learning the game and everything. Maybe we could save some money there at right back. Instead of get Trippier and maybe give Dalot another shot at it. Which if we could do that, saving money there, giving Dalot another shot, and saving the 40 million euro asking price of Kieran Trippier from Atletico Madrid, man. You're saving yourself 40 million euro there that you can put into a CDM role or for a CDM player. There's plenty out there that's decently priced. We've been through it before. Ruben Neves, Saul Niguez, not all that much either, So it all depends, really. We need to be smart, really. We need to be smart at what we do this summer. Because it could be like I said with Dalot, it could be a factor that you might go, we might give him another shot, another opportunity to back Wan-Bissaka up and to try and lay a claim to a place in the squad and maybe save that €40 million asking price of Kieran Trippier, because I think that's well too expensive for Trippier. And I think that's from what I've been hearing, is United not going to be paying that sort of money for him anyway. So it'll be all about what happens in the Pogba situation as well. Still not resolved yet. Do we run the risk of losing him for free next summer, or do we try and get him tied down to a new deal, or do we sell him now? To try and get a bit of money there. So it's all going to be interesting. I think the question is going to be answered as soon as the tournament finishes, and hopefully we'll get our answers in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you named a few of those players. Lingard's definitely an interesting one, but Hammer, I want to ask you particularly because we've just watched him play for Portugal. Diogo Dalot, what do you think of him? Because do you reckon that he can be sort of what Telles is in terms of a good backup, or do you think we need, even as a backup, we need a level above what Dalot is as a backup? Is that maybe why Ollie's looking at Kieran Trippier?
No, yeah, I mean, so I think the issue with Dalot is his defensive side, and that's obviously a big issue for a right back. But if he can even just slightly improve what he does on the defensive side, I think it would be a decent idea, especially what Benny was saying in terms of being smart and saving money, to give him a shot. We saw that he could put in those balls that we would probably all love to see Wan-Bissaka be able to put in. So, he'll bring the same thing going forward. That would be the reason we're signing Trippier. It's really just that defensive side. I don't think he needs to get significantly better, but he needs to do a decent amount better than what he has shown when he plays for United and when he plays, And today, even, I don't know. I wasn't able to watch the whole game, but again, he showed. I think I saw somebody comment in here. He has some moments which makes you go oh, okay, yeah, he could give us something, and then he has those defensive lapses where he rarely becomes a liability. So I think it all depends on how much he can improve on that defensive end.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. But then again, you might look at it as well as, well, if we have Wan-Bissaka who potentially could improve his attacking side, maybe we don't mind having a right back that needs to improve on his defensive side. Now you've got two options for maybe different kinds of games, and that's potentially what we've done wrong with Wan-Bissaka. Maybe we're playing him in every game when perhaps we don't need to, and we need something else there. Stu, what do you think in terms of just generally the squad? Who could we get rid of? Do you think there are some players that we need to keep just to have backup? What would you see it as?
Yeah, well, our squad balance has been up for debate, hasn't it, all season? It's not been great. Although there is an argument to suggest that if you look back to the Wolves game, that some of the fringe players that we kept probably outperformed the starting 11. Added a bit more balance, added a bit more creativity, added a great amount of technical ability. But I suppose you've got to trim the fat. I mean, it's like any business, unfortunately. You've got to balance the books. So I think in the world of football, people automatically assume that if you've got to sell to buy, it's a big thing. They've got, there's no money, etc. in the club. It's not necessarily correct. It's about balancing the squad and trimming the deadwood that we've been saddled with for years now, 6 or 7 years. So I mean, I quite like Dalot. I quite like what he's offered the last 6 months, certainly at AC Milan, and certainly I think he's been quite reasonable in the European Championships, and I guess his stock is relatively high at the moment for Diogo Dalot type player, and so I would move him on in the summer, and I would take the money. I would try. I think James is right. I would try and move Lingard on if we can, because I think we've probably got 25 to 30 million. I did read a bit of a joke comment the other day that's saying United were holding out for 20 million for Pereira. I mean, fuck me. Whoever they're going to fleece on that one is really interesting. And so, yeah, obviously Phil Jones, I would cancel his contract, to be honest. I wouldn't put up with Phil Jones anymore, just cancel his contract. I'd find a common ground with his agent and himself and pay him off, because it's just it's a waste of time, that. And those are the types of players I would move on. I'd actually move on Matic as well. you know, and I think Matic probably wants to go, and I think he probably will end up at Roma. So I'd move on Matic. In terms of who we buy, I think James is right. There's no CDM out there that we can't afford. It's who comes in and fits the type of play that Ollie wants to play next year.
I can think of a couple that we can't afford, and one of them's name is Joshua Kimmich.
Well, Kimmich, yeah. Although Kimmich, to be honest, yeah, I love Kimmich as well as I've championed Kimmich and Brozovic. And I know people will have a stab at me over Brozovic. He was brilliant for Inter Milan last season. He's had a poor Euro Championships, but so has Kimmich. Kimmich has had a very poor Euros. He's not been great at all, Kimmich.